All right. Hi, TAJA V. Simpson with me today from the.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? I'm so excited to be on here with you.
Uh, More excited, I guarantee it, because we go way back, uh,
Yeah,
probably 12 or 13, 14 years at this point, I think. And we haven't seen
right,
each other in a very long time in between because you've
right.
been busy crushing it.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
Absolutely. So, like I have a lot of interested actors in pursuing longevity in their career, and I help them with self-production and financial independence and stuff like that. But I always bring you up because I feel like from when we worked together back then, which you were already acting and doing quite a bit of stuff at that point. Um,
hmm
but seeing you at that point and then seeing you now, it's like you have literally bossed up and just taken ownership and control over your career, it seems, because you fill in those voids between opportunities given to you with the
hmm
hustle of getting those opportunities for yourself, getting that money for yourself, starting your business, engaging people. Can you
Right.
talk to me a little bit about when we met to today, sort of the evolution of your career, just kind of how it's built upon itself and what you've done to get here?
Wow, that's hold on one second. I'm pulling up my IMDb. You're like from then to now. I'm like, what have I done between then to now?
Because you're about to get a sequel on it, or did you already shoot the sequel for your movie?
We
Or
already shot the sequel.
okay, so you
So
got Lola, which is a fighter film where you're the lead. It's a
hmm
feature. They liked
it's a
it a lot,
feature.
so another one's came out. It's coming out.
hmm
You just finished working on that. You're on Tyler
Right.
Perry's Oval, right?
I'm on
Um,
a House Divided. That's on a different what network is that? They just switched. But a House Divided. So okay, to answer your question, I think I could sum it up in two words, and I would say relationship capital. This business is all about relationship capital. Just as any other, let's say, corporate structure business. Let's say you're working a job and your boss comes to you and they're like, hey, we got a new position that we're going to have open. Do you have any friends? Do you know anybody you can refer? And you're like, oh, yeah, actually, I do have a couple of friends. Relationship capital. Like it's just the same thing. And in our business, people want to work with people that they know. They want to work with referrals. They want to work with great people who give off good energy, who want to come to work to do the job and have a good time working with them. So once I realized that, once I learned, okay, this is all about building blocks, it's going to build you to other things, then that helped me in between the bigger jobs. Yes, I have an agent. Yes, I have a manager and things like that. But even in that, a lot of the jobs that I've gotten has been from networking with different directors or writers or producers, and us setting up a great relationship to be like, hey, I got a role for you. Okay, case in point, I did a movie called London Mitchell's Christmas that led me to the lead role for an AMC film that's called My Online Valentine, both directed by the same director Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan and I met on Facebook. I met him in person when I was hired to do the job. But on Facebook, I kept seeing this guy just putting out all these independent projects that would be on like BT or BT Plus or ABT Her or whatever. It would be on all these different little networks. And I'd be like, wow, this guy is doing it. He posts something that's like, hey, I'm doing a movie. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm shooting a movie. Hey, we wrapped a movie. Hey, remember that movie? Like now it has distribution. And I'm like, wow. So he knew I did a British accent. And so I started, do you remember when I used to walk around doing my British accent? I don't know. And so
I do. I remember it very well.
you did. Okay. And so he was like, hey, I got a role for you. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh my God, I got a role in one of his movies. And then he came back to me and was like, what do you think about doing a British accent? And I was like, oh my goodness, I think that'd be lovely. I would love to do a British accent in your movie. Thank you so much. And, and so from there, it was I think a 2-day shoot, flew me to Chicago, did the shoot, was, supporting, came back and was like maybe a few months later and was like, hey, I have another film. It's called My Online Valentine. Everyone loves you. I think you'll be great for the lead. Boom. Oh, okay. And then I ended up getting the lead in that. A House Divided. That's on All Black. It was UMC, now it's on All Black. All that from that movie, the director saw me in that movie, hit me on Instagram. I was like, this is why it's important to check your message requests because I try to get in the habit of it, but I have so many message requests that I'm like, oh, okay, that's nothing. Oh, this may be something. It was. he was like, hey, I saw you in this movie, My Own Valentine. I think you'd be great. I'd love to, you know, offer you this role. And I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to play an attorney. Okay. So then I always send people to my manager like, hey, this is what this guy said, vet him out, make sure it's cool. He's like, oh, I know this guy, Dan Garcia. Yeah, he's great. Okay, cool. It actually turned into something. And then now we're on season 4. We just shot season 4 of A House Divided. So there's so many different things, even Tyler Perry's The Oval, if I could just go so far as to say that, because my agent got me, a different agent I was with got me the role or the audition for Boo 2 on Medea's Halloween. Went in, booked that one, was really excited, flew to Atlanta, shot that. But we did after the movie was all said and done, it was a partnership with Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Network, and it was a like trailer release at the ArcLight Cinemas in Sunset in Hollywood. And Tyler Perry was there, the cast was there, all this stuff. And he was like, hey, I got a role for you. I got a part for you. I'm working on some stuff. He's like, you were really great in the film. I love what you did. So I got something for you. And I was like, okay, all right. Later that night, I get a text from Tyler Perry. Like, hey, it's Tyler Perry. Hey, just want to let you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for this. If you know anybody, let me know. So wait, pause. Is this Tyler Perry's real number? Is this the real Tyler Perry? Yes, it is. And so we were able to cultivate a real friendship there. And so then when The Oval came around, he sent a text. Hey, remember that show I was telling you about? I got a part for you. Okay. Okay. And then it kind of went from there. So saying all that to say, you're just as great as your last production that you do. So in all things that I do, I'm giving my 1000% all in everything, because I know film's going to last forever. And somebody can see you in that literally, and then come back and be like, oh my God, I want to cast this girl in this. I want to use her for that. And so now my team absolutely loves me. I brought them The Oval. I had to call them and say, hey, I just got a text. We should be getting something from Kim Coleman, from Tyler Perry about they want me to do something with this. And so let's make sure this is like, let's vet this. And they're like, wait, what? Okay. And then it kind of goes from there. So there's so many. And then Kiss Me for Christmas was the same people who did A House Divided. Baby Money. Baby Money is a film that's out right now on Apple TV and Amazon. And I did a friend of mine called me and asked me to do a table read at UCLA for his graduate program. And he was like, I know you have a lot going on. I know you're like this big. And I'm like, oh, please, whatever. Sure, I'll do the table read. Like, fine, I love you. Okay, no problem. I go and do the table read. There's a writer-director in the audience. Maybe 2-3 years later, he hits me and he's like, I've never forgot about you from that table read. You were so great at that table read. And I have a part I want to offer you in a movie that I'm doing. At the time, the movie was called Dead End. And then along the way, as movie titles switch, it switched to Baby Money. And he offered me the lead role in that. And I got that just from literally being my best self, no matter where I am, and then the relationship capital of that. So I say that and just to really encourage all of your students, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, no matter what the project is, if it's a table read for some other students, if it's a short film, if it's something that you're producing yourself, the audience as well as casting people can look past, the production isn't the best production in the world. We can see your performance. We can see how great you are. Or if you have some actors in your short film that may not be, Brad Pitt in a movie, but they're decent, but they can see your production quality and see how great you put this production together. That will still bring, lead you somewhere else. Look at Awkward Black Girl that turned into Insecure with Issa Rae. That was something on YouTube, and it was done. The first season was, she did it on her own. You can tell it was like, let's get together. We're gonna do this, and it was shot. You could tell, but not a lot of money. Did a couple of seasons of that, and that turned into Insecure on HBO, and now they're in the 5th season, and I'm in the first episode of that. So you just have to start. You just have to believe in yourself. You just have to get going. You have to do all these things, but make sure whatever it is you do, you put your best work out, because whatever you put out is going to live forever. Somebody's going to see it, and that could ultimately give you more work. I always say work begets work, no matter what vein you're in. You're a director, you're a producer, you're a writer, you're an actor, work begets work. The more great work you put out, the more great work will come to you.
Or you can cripple your career by putting out garbage that maybe you shouldn't have done. And then that person, we've had some situations where we brought in an actor for a casting, and they were great. And then upon further research, you kind of start looking at some stuff that's out there, and suddenly, you know, producers around you start raising brows and they're like, oh, I don't know, did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, this looks pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should just keep our options open. And then that's usually the
Mm-hmm.
best sentence of an actor when somebody in the team says, you know, let's keep our options open.
Right. Exactly.
I love what you're saying though. And I'm sure I mean, it's inspirational for me to sit here and listen to this because I know how hard you've worked too. Can you talk a little bit about the in between? Because obviously you're supporting yourself as you're going through this journey and you don't get series regular money right out the gate. So when do you, and then also the other thing I also tell people a lot, and I've seen it happen with some of my own friends, is that they do get on a good show. They do have a lasting, you know, stretch with that. Something happens with the show, it cancels, it runs, you know, it runs its
Right.
course. And then it can take quite a significant amount of time sometimes to really find that sort of solid, more stable income again. And sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it happens more quickly than others, but depending on what's
Right.
going on, it always makes sense to be able to bridge the gap yourself, right? And I know that you've also been on the other side of the camera quite a bit. Can you talk about all the various things that you've done to avoid having to have the commitment of a 9 to 5, but be able to still support yourself in a place like Los Angeles while you're building your acting career?
Yeah, totally. When I first started off my in-between job, or my waitress job, if you will, that gave me the flexibility to let me do whatever I wanted, was promotions. So I was the promotion girl that was out there like, hey, do you want to try this new water? You know, I was that girl. That gave me flexibility in the beginning. Then when I started getting, started booking a lot more, and now I'm like, you know, the time in between jobs are shorter and shorter, but I still need funds because that one co-star is not giving me rent for 3 months. Like, so I have to figure things out. So I had to really sit and think about what my passions were. What are the other things that I love besides acting? And directing was a big part of that. That's when we met. We worked on, you know, the web series called The Shop. Remember that? The little song we had, you know?
Yeah.
So we would work on independent productions because we would have to, it was like when that calling is in you, you're like, I have to work in this in some capacity. So I would do that in other ways, but I love filmmaking. So I would do it in directing, acting. If I had to come on to a friend's set and be their PA that time, whatever it is, if it was paying me and I could be around it and I could be with it, I would do it. First AD,
Let me
whatever.
put a pin in there real quick and just emphasize too that, you know, by looking for additional income within this industry, it makes more sense because you're also having that added layer of networking with crew and other actors
Right.
in outside of just being an actor too. So when you come in and suddenly, oh, this is the
Absolutely.
director, this is the producer, like the conversation changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because everyone understands in this business, you may be a director today, but you could be the lead in a movie tomorrow. You may be the lead, you may be a supporting in this movie today, but tomorrow you may be, you know, PA on something else. Like, everyone gets it. So, you know, you never know where this may take you. You never know where this may bring you. You just never know. So I've always been a person to make sure that I respect people, no matter who they are, no matter what they title are, what their title is. Just because I like that in general. I was raised that way. You just don't treat people crazy just because they have a bigger title or because they don't. That's my own thing. So I definitely did a lot of work in the business because I love to, you know, the thing about art is, and being a creative, is there's no one way to make a movie. There's no one way to get a shot. There's no, you know, we all look at the shot and I'm like, ooh, I would probably, as a director, I'm like, ooh, I would probably do something like this. That would be dope. And then the director comes in, he does something completely off the wall. And you're like, oh, okay, I didn't see it that way. But that works too. You know, and you're still learning. It's like being in an acting class. But if you're an actor, you're being in an acting class, you may not go up every time, but you're still learning because half of it is the listening element of it. So you can sit there and be in it, be in the trenches and learn from it. So I did a lot of that. And then the other passions that was outside of, let's say, the business, I wanted to create things, excuse me, businesses that would allow me to, I guess, afford me the opportunity to do more of the acting that I wanted. So then I came out with my lipstick collection. It was something that I was passionate about, and I love makeup and fashion and all these things. So I came up with that. And then after that, during COVID, people ask me all the time about how to get started in acting and what to do and all these different things. And so I was helping people as much as I could along the way. But the busier I was, you know, beginning to get, I didn't have as much time. And so I had all these emails, I had all these messages, and every time I'm on TV or something airs, it's like, hey, how how do I get started? What I need to do? Or hey, my daughter, or hey, we love how you act. What is your approach? All these things. So I was like, I have to do something with this because the demand is there. So what could I do to really supply that demand? And so I came up with the Working Actors Academy. And the Working Actors Academy is a one-stop shop for all things acting, but it's going to help you understand more so the business part of it, not just so much being a career student. Because I know a lot of actors that are career students, nothing wrong with that. But if you don't know how to have audition technique, you are not getting the job to work your said career as a student. And so for me, I wanted to give people the practical tools that they needed to be successful as an actor and how to actually get the job. Now, you've been a career student for 10 years, great. So you know how to really bring that character to life, but how do we get the job? So that's what the Working Actors Academy, that came out in July. Actually, I just launched that in July of this year, and it's been doing very well. So thank you. I'm really excited about that. So
that's just the workingactorsacademy.com or working
.com. Mm-hmm. The workingactorsacademy.com. Yep. Or actually, you just go to TAJAVSimpson.com too, and it's like that's the one-stop shop website. It'll take you to the book that I wrote, Women Who Shine, the Working Actors Academy, the lipstick collection, my other book, Cracking the Acting Code. So it'll bring you to everything. TAJAVSimpson.com is the hub page, is what I call it.
Yeah.
So I guess for anyone that
in the description here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for everyone that's listening right now, the thing is this: you have to find those I guess jobs or things that you want to do in between what you have your big job that can really set you up so that you can pay your rent and do all these different things. And for me, that was other forms of legs and entertainment and filmmaking and the art of filmmaking, because I loved it that much. I wanted to know about all of it, and it would help me be a better actor and help me be a better director, help me be a better storyteller altogether. And then I also wanted to create, businesses. And I think businesses as an actor, or whatever, I wouldn't even just say as an actor, just as a person in general, when you can kind of create a legacy for your own family, I think that's important as well. And those are the avenues that I was able to do that. So that's how I've been successful with when I'm not working, we shoot the Oval in like 2 weeks. So it's not like it's a commitment of like a year, like a normal 22 episode, show. It's like, okay, now what? I need another job, and in between that, other jobs come. So,
yeah.
And then it's law of attraction, it's the whole thing, it's all that too.
That's important. And I'm sorry, my gardeners just decided to arrive right now, of course, so apologies there. But the next thing, actually, it's funny you say law of attraction, because that's a big thing. I talk a lot about mindset in my program, and aligning yourself and being focused and clear about where you're going or where you would like to go. Like, I don't believe in you needing to have like such specific goals and such specific ways to get there. That's actually kind of the opposite. I think you need to kind of understand what you want to grow into, put that energy out there with meditation, prayer, whatever you call it, so that the universe can align around you and actually give you those opportunities. Because if you're confused, everything around you is confused too, and there's no direction. So when you talk about focus, I immediately think practically one of the things is thinking about your brand as an artist a little bit, like where you fit, what kind of roles you might be more successful at, just knowing your own characteristics as a person and the things that you can play. Because Al Pacino, probably not the best pick for a Star Wars movie, but there's actually kind of a lot that needs to be thought about in that respect, so that you know where you can align yourself as an artist. What have you done growing into your current self to keep things honest and true to like your brand, and so that you can really focus and generate more work into a certain direction? Or has that not been a consideration for you?
No, it has. I feel like that's a two-part question. Well, first, when it comes to like, let's say the spirit of like law of attraction, for me, you have to know what you want. Like, what are your desires? I agree with you 100%. If you're so confused in that, then confusion is all around you. Then you're wondering why life is going crazy and doing all these things, and nothing's really aligning with what you desire because you don't know.
Right.
So once I know, once I understand, once I'm like, okay, this is my desire, this is what I want, I focus on that. I do have a vision board that I actually put up, and it's interesting. I went back and looked at it, and there's so many things that's already checked off of that vision board that I was like, oh, wow, look at that, So I believe in I guess my first step is understanding and knowing what you want. And then really focusing on that. I focus that in my intention. I focus that in my gratitudes from where I am and what I desire. And then I also do writing. I write it out in the morning. I write my gratitudes and things like that. So once that I'm really clear. So now what I'm putting out to the universe is super clear. So now the universe can then work and do its magic. The beautiful thing is I don't have to worry about the how it's going to happen. I just believe that it will. So once I make that commitment in my mind and I say what it is I want, I always end it with, and so it is. And then I know it's going to happen. And at some point it will. And then when I sit back and I look at it, I'm like, oh, snap. Oh, yeah, I remember I said that. That's great. And then I just keep it moving. Because I listened to a lot of Abraham Hicks. And one thing she said that was so profound to me one day, she said, when you put something out into the universe that you desire, when it shows up, that's like old news. How long ago did you say you wanted that? Like, so you can't be so focused on this one thing that brings anxiety, that brings all this other energy that goes along with it that won't allow you to be successful in that way. So when things show up, yes, I'm excited, but there's also a level of expectancy because I knew it would, because it's supposed to, because it's the law, because I believe, period, So I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. It's that. Okay, great. Boom. On to the next thing. Now that will vary my level of excitement of what it is and what I was trying to manifest. Whatever. Sometimes I sit back and I look at the board and I'm like, oh, snap, I did. No, I said I had HBO up there. That's crazy. I'm about to be on Insecure. That's on HBO. You have those realization moments too, So that's one part of it. The other part of it, when you were speaking, yes, I do think it's important to know your type and know who you are as an artist. Right. I talk about that a lot in the Working Actors Academy. That's the first thing that I think when I coach actors that they don't even understand. They don't know who they are and they don't know who they are as an artist. They don't understand their type. I get it. We're artists. We can do anything. Oh my God, I can play any role. Sure. But I'm not going to be able to play the role that's not readily in my wheelhouse. Something like, oh, you're the big burly girl who comes in but I don't have that frame, so I can't be that person. So I'm not the right type for that. Like, that's not going to work. But when I am choosing roles that's in my wheelhouse or outside of my wheelhouse, I have to be comfortable with it because I believe every story is important and should be told, but that doesn't mean that I have to be the catalyst to tell it. So even though I'm lending myself to Priscilla Owen for Tyler Perry's The Oval and I'm playing this character, it's still a level of emotion and a roller coaster ride that I have to go through to be on this journey with her, even though I can lose myself in her a bit. However, if it's something that I'm uncomfortable with, that I don't desire to do, then I'm not doing. I also had to understand that when I say every role is important, but every role doesn't mean I have to play it. I don't have to play it. I can sit back and cheer someone else on to play the role because if it didn't make me comfortable, it didn't make me comfortable. I mean, there are roles that I used to see that, like for instance, right now, they always get roles from certain particular network, and I swear I do want to work on some of these shows, but it's like soft porn in what they want when you're on certain star shows and like Power, and I loved Power. I watched it all the time, but if you was a woman, it was like Game of Thrones. You were nude, honey. We gonna see the goods. We're seeing everything, and I'm just not comfortable with that. Not saying I'll never do it. I don't know, but right now today, not ready for the must be comfortable with full sexual nude simulation. And when you see it, I'm like, he have an end because it looks like it, man. Y'all sold that, like that's a lot for me. Right. I'm not ready for that. So I know I'm not going to do that character justice.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. So, I mean, I always say that no is a very powerful word and it's underutilized. I think people are afraid of missing out, but I feel like when you've discovered a little bit more about who you are, what your essence is, where you fit, just like with a business, it's easier to market a donut shop than it is a bakery that sells everything because you don't know what you're going there for, right? So when you know that they just have the best donuts, like period, they have the best selection of donuts, they got all kinds of donuts, that's amazing, then where do you go to get donuts? You go there. But if it's like, oh, bakeries, general bakeries tend to have like pretty decent everything, but it's when you want the good stuff, you go to a specialist, right? Same with doctors.
Right.
Have your pediatrician or your HMO, like your general practitioner, you wouldn't have them remove a tumor from your brain, right? It just doesn't make sense because
Right.
that's not where they're specialized. So have you discovered along your way? I remember seeing you in a lot of faith-based plays back. I don't know if you still do that, but did
Yeah.
that sort of lend itself to the types of characters that you started playing in media more? Or
No, not necessarily. And I did. Oh my God, I did those plays for 12 years. I did them for 12 years. And they did well. We did those in front of like 5,000 seat audience, like it was amazing. Um, no, not necessarily. No, I can't say that because I've also played, roles where I'm kissing women and, I have a wife and, and that necessarily, if that wouldn't be of the church, if you will. So no, it has nothing to
what
necessarily
do you
do with
think
that because
ties your roles together then? Like, what do you think makes you kind of stand out when people, because I also tell people that it's not really who you know as much as who's thinking about you and who knows you when the need for you comes around, right? That's kind of what you, so when you think of who you are as a person and an actor, what do you feel like people think about when they're like, holy crap, Taja would be amazing for this?
What do they think about as far as like talent or type of
Your
role?
brand, like who you are, like what is it
My
about you
brand
that
and me.
makes them want to hit you up and remember you for that, whatever it is that is. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think it's my consistency. I think it doesn't matter what you've looked at in my body of work. Like when I like I'm getting ready to edit my reel literally after this conversation, re-edit it because I have so much new stuff to add to it. But when people see that, like my agents are always like, people are so surprised that you're the same person in this reel. Like he's like, I need an updated reel. I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about that. But he's like, you're so consistent. And that's why you're on everyone's short list. And that's why people are like, ooh, I got to find a spot for you. And that's why I'm building fans and things like that. So like there's a show right now that I've auditioned for a few times. And I'm like, ooh, they're trying to find a spot for me. Okay, this is my third, going on fourth audition with them. And they're always like, oh, we love her. Okay, maybe this one. Okay, whatever. So I would say it's a level of consistency because when you do think of me, I'm not going to do it. Like if I'm sick and I can't do an audition, I'm not doing the audition because I know I'm always looking at big picture. Yeah, when you think about, oh, I don't want to miss out. Oh, I no longer do that anymore because that's operating from a spirit of lack. But what I believe is everything always works out for me. I say that every day. Daniel, I say it every day. Everything always works out for me, no matter what it is, no matter what it's about, it doesn't matter. Right. If I'm trying to get parking, oh my God, I can't wait. Parking is going to be right there for me in the front. Everything always works out for me, and it is. Right. So if I have to miss an audition because I'm working on something else or I'm sick or I don't feel good or whatever it is, I just tell my team, I'm not going to be able to do this. Or if I pass on something, I'm not going to be able to do this. And be okay with that because everything always works out for me. What's meant for me is going to be for me, period. And because once I took on that mantra and truly understood that, then it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I didn't do that audition. It didn't matter if I get passed on this one. It doesn't matter because what's for me is for me, period. So I think when other people are thinking of, ooh, Taja will be great for this, Taja will be good for this, is because the level of performance and commitment that I give to my characters every single time, I don't care if it's on network television or I don't care if it's on something like a table read at UCLA. It doesn't matter. My name is attached to it. I'm going to be great in it, and you're going to remember me no matter what. Like that's how I approach everything. I do everything with the spirit of excellence. If it's not going to be excellent, I don't want to do. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
I think that's an important thing for people to remember, and I think sometimes before you've experienced a degree of consistency or success or even seen some money come in or have that even just validation from somebody to tell you that you are good, I think it can be or you're worth more money or whatever. It can be hard for people to think about like their version 2.0 of who they would be if they were in these situations. So it sometimes gets hard to develop the mindset of abundance and of success when you haven't quite seen that come back.
Oh, no. I agree. And what I'm saying is, to be clear, I'm not saying that from the standpoint of, oh, people know that I'm successful. And so that's what they're thinking of. No. I mean, even when, I wasn't booking anything, the level of commitment that I'm going to give to this audition, I would do my auditions at home before I went to the audition room. I would film myself and see what I did. Yeah,
That's what no, I wasn't saying that like you need to keep in mind people don't know. That's what I mean about you. Like you had
okay,
that mentality, that mindset from day one. It didn't matter what if
totally.
you were on the oval yet. Yeah, you're on the oval now. Things are
Yeah.
working out for you. But
Okay,
before you
thank
had
you.
anything,
I thought I said it different. I was like, oh, I hope it didn't
no,
come
no,
off
no.
that
You
way.
can't.
Okay,
No,
got it.
no,
No, no, no.
100%. But
Okay,
that's I
okay,
find
okay.
that very valuable because I find myself trying to encourage people a lot to just say, listen, you just gotta believe that it's going to happen for you and go for it. Because, you know, when you start having that doubt, the scarcity, like, oh, no, it's not going to work out, you start latching on to things that hold you back. You start,
Mm.
you don't
And
commit.
if you fight for your limitations, you will win. If you fight for your limitations, you will win.
Win.
Oh,
100%. That's a great way to say it. I think that
yeah, because
contributes to
people
more
will have all
failure.
these. Totally, because they'll have all these excuses. Well, I mean, you know, I got that. Well, I got this. Well, and I've had conversations with friends like that, and I'm listening, and I'm trying to, you know, get them in a positive way. Like my friends know, I only speak in a positive way. I don't speak in can't, don't, won't, nothing negative, because the subconscious mind doesn't understand sarcasm and all of that. What it will do is give you what you speak. Life and death's in the power of the tongue. Like you speak life over your life, or you want to speak death. The choice is yours. You're doing it to yourself. Once I learned that about myself, I was like, ooh, I gotta change my speech. Ooh, I've been saying a lot of things like, oh, well, they're not gonna cast me for this because I'm not a name. Well, I'm not a star name. Are they really gonna cast like a brown girl for a lead? It's very rare you see a brown girl as a lead or something like that. I'm not gonna get that. Or whatever these things we tell ourselves, I don't do that anymore ever.
I'm so
Ever.
happy that you're saying
Yeah.
this because, you know, I get so many, oh, well, you know, it's because I live here or it's because I'm, you know, this or that. And it's like, Peter Dinklage's role on Game of Thrones was not written for a little person. It was not.
Right,
He
right.
smashed that shit. Like, let's face it. And if you
Right.
want to talk about being a different ethnicity or not being represented, I understand that struggles are real. Like I'm not even poo-pooing on that. But when you have the drive and the mindset that that's not a barrier, you can turn literally those proverbial lemons into lemonade, and you can use those as your strength, and you can use those,
Yeah.
you know, to be almost like fuel for you. It's all about your mindset and how you think about things, how you approach them. And you're right, you are always positive. You're one of the few people. I swear we went through some interesting times
Yeah.
on the set of that. Like
Right.
you you and me in Orlando were standing in the middle of the room where our lead had just walked out, and we had to rewrite basically the final episode or
Totally.
something like on the fly,
Right.
right?
And we're
So,
like, okay, all right. Oh, all right.
but it was
We're all
solution
here.
driven. It
We
wasn't
gotta
like,
get it
oh,
done.
we
Yeah.
can't finish this now. But it was like, no, all right, we're here. What do we do? How do we do it? And you were always uplifting and positive about it. That's really important.
And you know, it's funny, you said something earlier that made me think about this analogy that I like to tell my students in TWAA. And I use people like Michael Jordan or you know, like Kobe Bryant as an example. I just always loved them because I just felt like I could connect to them and their mindset so well, even as a young kid. But we look at them now and we're like, wow, he's Michael Jordan's name is synonymous with greatness. When someone says you're the Michael Jordan of, that means you are at the pinnacle. That's the highest honor that you can,
Right.
you know, someone could say to you, ooh, or Kobe and things like that. So that's what made me start doing my own auditions at home, prepping my own audition, looking at it, seeing what I could do. Okay, okay, that looks weird. Okay, because when you go into the room, you got one, maybe two shots, really one shot. And if they want to give you a redirect, they will. Otherwise, it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't like that. Thank you.
Right.
I wanted them to be like, oh, that was interesting. Okay, I like this girl. Okay. But Kobe and Michael would always say, all they did in a game is what they practiced. But sometimes as artists, we don't want to put in the work to practice. Well, if you don't want to practice, why should the coach put you in a game? You're not ready. So if you're wondering why you're not getting these jobs, why you're not booking, and why you're not doing all these different things, have you really studied? Have you really prepared yourself for what you feel like it is that you desire and that you want in your life? What is it that you're doing to make sure that, hey, this one is mine? If you're putting in that work, it's going to come back to you. That's just the law of attraction, and I believe in that, right? But if you're not putting in the work, because you have the hustle and bustle of work and this and all these different things that you're saying, and you're allowing the barriers of that to live in your mind, it's not going to come. It can't.
That's
You blocked it.
And two comments I can add to fortify that it's also outside of the acting industry. One, my biggest frustration with actors on any set, whether it's a little video that we're doing or a feature film or a pilot or whatever, the biggest frustration that I've had with even experienced actors who you would be like, you should know better, is that they show up and don't know their lines. Like, don't know their lines. And it's like, if you need to do one thing as an actor, it is know your lines so well that it comes out naturally, right? Because if you're thinking of your lines, how can you put the effort into the craft? Because you're trying to remember your lines, right? It should be regurgitated. Now I get sometimes if you work on a soap opera, there's a lot to do very quickly. It's high speed, but even there, if they can help with that, if you have 2 weeks to rehearse for a 2-minute video, then you should know your lines. Second, in special forces in the military, there's a saying that goes, it translates to basically hard in training, easy at war, right? So you overtrain. And then when you show up, it's just second nature. It's instinct.
Right. It's instinct. And that, oh gosh, okay, hold on. What was I gonna say? Dang it. That one reminded me of when I was watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan in the last season of the Bulls. And I think they were all like kind of shooting the shit in this one particular episode, and they were all throwing the shot up from like half court, and everybody's missing, and Michael goes up there, makes it. And they're like, his mindset was like, I'm never gonna miss. He didn't operate in doubt to be like, oh, I hope I don't miss. No, this like bucket. But like, he's only thinking, you got to focus on what it is you desire. When you allow yourself to go and focus on the things that you don't, it's just going to keep bringing you back. Your mind has to stay completely focused on what it is that you desire. You have to have tunnel vision in that, period. Yeah, so you're right. That overtraining, if you will, so that when you get to set and get to work, you know what I mean? It becomes a little bit easier. And let me say something about the actors who don't know their lines, because I'm never really been guilty of that. But what I will say is, for actors in general, no matter what the project is, you need to respect it. If you signed on, be great. Because even if it is just a 2-minute, industrial video for a company you've never heard of, you're still you. And people working with you, that experience will go far. Good and bad. Good and bad. Everyone always asks, hey, have you ever worked with, hey, I was on IMDb, I noticed you was on a project for this. What is your experience with that person? They want to know.
Well, like Taja, that lady, that lead actor that walked out on us and in that little web series. Now both of us are a little bit further down the line. Are we ever going to work with that person?
Never.
I mean, you remember what she looks like if you saw her, because I'd probably recognize her, and that'd be like, I think I know you, and no, I don't think so.
And it's not happening, period. And it's I mean, that's why it's important to respect everything that you do. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you, if what we were doing, which she considered was a bigger production or bigger value for her, she wouldn't have walked out. She'd have been a better performer and all these different things. But sometimes we put it in tiers, like, ooh, I'm on network TV. Ooh, I'm in a big film with such and such. Oh, I'm just doing a little student film. I'm just doing a little web series. But see, Denzel Washington, I remember reading this about him or watching this interview with him, and he was like, whatever you do, that's gonna last forever. So choose wisely. Whatever you put down on film, somebody can go back and watch something from you a long time ago, and it's like, oh wow, she was good in that too. I didn't even realize. That's what you want.
Let's paint a thing that's going to give me great pleasure right now to say this, because the frustration of that having happened was upsetting, right? If this person listens and you know who you are,
right?
This girl that you walked out on right here was literally asked by Tyler Perry if she knows anybody for something that he was working on. If you would have remembered her in a positive way, there is a chance that she might now be on a Tyler Perry show. There
was another friend that I, referred to him, and he loved her and wanted her, but they couldn't get the schedule together. And he was like, I really wanted her for this show, and it was for his show Sisters.
But then
he wanted her, but
this is a real world example of what we're talking about. This is an actual
Exactly.
real world example that you and I both went through, that we know. We're talking about it 12, 13 years later. And it
Right.
goes to show that this is a non-linear business. It is a long game.
Yeah.
You're in this for the long haul, and that people remember your ass, whether it's good or bad.
Maya Angelou has a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't know if I'm saying it exactly verbatim, but she said, people may not remember what you said to them, what you maybe did for them, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
That's true. Yeah.
Even now, I don't remember that girl's name.
Right.
Like, I don't know her name. Like, I don't remember her in that way, no. But I do remember the feeling of you leaving us sitting in that moment. Right. And so that's why 12, 13 years later, we can sit here and talk about it and it'd be fresh in our minds. Like, yeah, remember, can you believe that? That was crazy. And then we had to scramble and we had to figure out how to make this whole series work. We had, put in so much time, all the hours you spent at your house, like going over our production notes, me, you, Orlando, everybody. It was just crazy. We spent so many hours prepping this, trying to make it good, trying to get our shots. Like, all of us were so passionate about doing something great. And then you bring in actors and now this happens. That was like, wow. So you're right. No, I would have never, I don't even think about that girl. But at the same time, if she was to come across my path again and someone wants to say, what is your experience like with said actor? I'd be like, oh, I didn't have a good one, because I'm only speaking my truth and that was my experience. Right. Now, that was a long time ago. I don't know what she's like now. Right. However, my experience with you wasn't great. And that's what people need to understand. Right. When people don't have great experiences with you, everyone will always remember how that made them feel.
Yeah.
Period. Good or bad.
100%.
Or if you had an amazing experience, it's like, oh my God, she was so great. She was this, she was that. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's call her in. Because at certain levels, they're just, they're casting from a phone. Like, they're like, hey, I got a part. Hey, when Quentin Tarantino wants to do something, he sits back and is like, oh, I'm gonna work. Okay, I think this would be good for Leo. I'm gonna call Brad. I'm gonna get Leo, and I'm gonna get such and such. Like, all the main players, they're just making phone calls at that level, on all levels, really. But right. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens. Relationship, it all goes back to relationship capital, period.
It's so true. All of our castings they're the leftovers, because, sometimes we're like, okay, well, let's try something. We need a very specific character that we can't think of anybody right now. So let's throw a net out and see what works, what comes back, see if we can get some new ideas. But even then, we probably have like our two backups in mind, where it's just kind of like, But
that's in everything. That's in everything. Like, that's at every level. It happens that way. That's why there isn't a category for casting at the Academy Awards. Because at that level, all of the main players who will be nominated, they didn't cast them. They got called. Like, one director or producer said, I want this person for the role. So then it was packaged, and then that's what they do. And then the casting will get the lower hanging fruit.
Right.
You'll get the day players, you get the guest stars, or if it's a film, you get the supporting, whatever it is, and then go from there. But all the main players, it's just like it's a phone call.
So what this conversation has basically fortified is and this is amazing. Thank you again, because I haven't had this kind of conversation with you ever. I've just worked with you. We've been in touch here and there, maybe the occasional like, oh, she's working on lipstick. Congratulations. That's basically it. But this has really tied it all together. And I've seen this happen from the outside. And I assume that everything that you're saying is exactly as you said it. And you've put it in such good words. And I think the walkaway or the takeaway here is, stay committed, put good energy out there, focus on good goals that figure out what you want and pursue it vehemently, like put it in writing, remind yourself of it, because their brains are shit at remembering anything. So even what we want in life, right? So sometimes we got to put that up there. So set goals, focus on it, understand yourself, brand yourself to the best of your abilities, take TAJA V Simpson's acting workshop, and absolutely. And never forget how you come across wherever you are, right? Whether you're meeting somebody in a restaurant that could help you or not. I always say too, if you become immersed in this industry and you truly start forming relationships, you kind of shift from this jealousy mindset to wanting to protect all your contacts and everything, to this kind of more open-minded mindset where it's like, let me help these two people connect here. if magic happens there, they'll remember that things, and not because I want something to come around, but just because like it's tough. Let's help them do this. They'll help me do that. Maybe, maybe not, but I just want good things to happen over there. And
agreed.
this stuff sort of just, this is such a tough game for everybody. And I think everybody's so consumed by kind of this selfishness or something like that, that when you start rolling with people who are truly generous with their information and their time and the help they give people and their attitudes, good things happen. So try to be a helper, try to be positive. And what else would you say? I mean, what do you want to?
I mean, yeah, I know you covered everything. I think as it relates to helping people, whether that help comes back from those people or not, it'll come back to you. So I think if I had to put all of what you said in one thing, it would just be focusing on being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And that will shine through in every leg of all the things that you do, right? Everything that comes out all from you will be great. And then the law of attraction says whatever you put out comes back. So if you're putting out greatness will come back. Work begets work, no matter what that is. So I would say in all of it, just be the best version of yourself. Be a person of integrity. Stand on your word. If you have nothing else to stand on, you should have your word. And people will know you like, oh, if she said that, then that's done. Okay, great. Like I'm not gonna lie to you about anything. I don't lie. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
So no matter what it is.
Think of you, right? A lot of people are worried about what they might think. And I think that holds people back in auditions too. They come in and they try and deliver what they think we want to see.
They want to see.
I want to see something original.
Make a strong choice.
Right. I want to see something new. I want you to wow me with something crazy. I don't want to see this boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you fall into the space of doing exactly what everyone else did. So now, why are you standing out in my mind? You're not. You're not at all. So you have to do something that's a little bit outside of the ordinary, or really sit and think what's something unique that you can bring to this role that makes the director, the writer, the producer say, oh man, I didn't even look at that person like that. Like, wow, that's great. Because the cool thing is, if you make I literally just taught in TWAA, I just taught a self-tape class on Saturday. And I talked to my different casting director friends and I was like, what are the things you look for? And one of the things that everyone agreed on was like, make strong choices. We love it when people make strong choices, even if it's wrong, even if it's completely out of wazoo. They're like, oh, that's okay, because I like that performance. I didn't even see it like that. That was great. And then I can say, I can bring that person back in, or when you were in the room, they can say, okay, I like that. That was interesting. But this time, make her a little bit more blah, blah, blah. Exactly. They can give you a redirect. With self-tapes, they may not be able to give you a redirect, but they're still interested in calling you in because of the strong choice that you made, and the performance that you gave was so good. So do something, guys. Yeah.
100%, because it's harder to take a vanilla performance and try to turn it into something good. It's not worth the effort for us. But it's nice to see somebody who has the balls to let it go and do something great. And say, okay, well, this is a performer for real. This is a legit performer. That person can probably be directed. So if I just tell them to tone down the anger and increase the this and that, they'll get it and they'll nail it. And that's 100% right what you just said. I love that. So be the best version of yourself as a human being, not just as an actor in one area, right?
As a human being, yes.
Everything you are. Like, some people think like there's work and there's hobby and there's family, but it's all just you. It's all you, because if you are late with responding to text messages, for instance, like you take 4 days to respond to a text message or an email, you're probably not very organized in other areas of your life, or you probably don't prioritize whoever you're texting with in other areas or whatever, which means you're probably not that good at weeding your garden, which means you're probably spending a lot of time doing unnecessary crap, which means you're probably less focused. So you're probably less good as an actor too. Right? So, because you're not
right, it all goes together, yeah.
It all sort of, and you can kind of tell from just like, this person's unresponsive, probably not the best actor to work with, you know?
Right.
And it might be wrong, but it just, you know, all ties together. And I love
but that's a great example, because this business moves so fast. So if people are trying to reach you about something, it takes you 4 days to respond. Why do I then think you're going to be great at other things I need you to be? Right now, I get it. If you respond with, oh, I'm sorry for the delay, blah, blah, blah. And then every other
I
time
was
you're
on
on it, they're
set. We
okay,
had
cool.
16-hour days. I get it.
Yeah,
Right?
I get it. I'm back now to the regular world. I was, exhausted. I was on vacation. Whatever it is, there's always reasons. Okay, cool. But when you're consistent in that way, then no, that doesn't make people want to work with you, because you're like, oh, Laura, well, I had to, because it'll take 2 or 3 days for her to respond. Then, oh, okay, we know how he gets. No one wants to deal with that. The industry moves too fast.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I need to let you go, but there's one more thing that maybe is a bit of a
Yeah.
visual aid to help let people, think about this too, because we're talking so much about energy and who you are as a person. People often, this is an exercise I love doing. When you look at yourself, let's say you've made a $2 million film and usually you make, $1,000 videos, but you had that one thing where you made a $2 million film. Then you'll go around and you'll call yourself a $2 million filmmaker. But the reality is that you pay your bills with those $1,000 videos. So people like to look at themselves as the best thing that they've done, but who they really are is at the bottom of that curve consistently. So if you can work as a person to elevate the bottom of your curve to be where your top is right now, and look at yourself as where you're at right now at the bottom, but what your capabilities are being the top, and you start trying to not let that curve dip as low with every project that you do, pull up before it goes down. Just try to, and that might mean saying no to certain things. It might mean doing something yourself or investing in yourself in some way or whatever. But if you're always pushing yourself and not being delusional about that one fluke that you had being sort of who you are, but you're focusing on where you really make your money and how you really spend your time, you can do a lot of good change in your life, because it's just a matter of focusing on the reality of what you really do and where maybe your mind thinks that you are relative to the reality,
I agree. And the way to bridge that gap for me is gratitude.
Yeah.
Living in the gratitude of where you are. Yes, the desire is to continuously bridge the gap and live in that $2 million movie mark or wherever. But as long as you're always looking ahead and not being able to focus on the gratitude of where you are and how you're growing, because you're so focused about I'm up here, it's going to be super hard to bridge that gap, because as you move here, you're still moving. The gap is still there. No matter where you go, the gap is still there. But in order to bridge the gap, in order for you to get more of whatever it is you desire, so that could be more of the consistent thing in your life, no matter what it is, no matter what you do, you have to be grateful for where you are. And I had to do that the hard way, because there was a time when I was broke and my car got repossessed and I didn't know where money was going to come from, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I came across the book of The Secret, right? And then I started working on gratitude, and I was like, so I'm supposed to be gratitude for there's no money in my account? Like, how? Okay, all right, let me try this. I've done everything else. Let me see. But in doing so, more came to me. And I was like, I see what they're saying now. So yes, in order to bridge that gap, instead of always constantly on what you desire so much, so focused over there, you have to also be okay with where you are and live in gratitude for where that is. Like you said, as you desire to be up here, and that will bridge the gap. That will bring you to that $2 million movie mark, and then allow you to keep going your 10, your 15, your $20 million movie mark. And that's what you normally do, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Gratitude is so important.
Yeah.
And like I said before we started recording, I could do this with you all day, but I know you're busy. You got lots to do. Super successful right now, and I can only see this going north for you even further. So I'm very proud of you. Thank you for stopping by and chatting with me. And what do you want to plug right now outside of your workshop? Obviously, I'll post a link for that in the description. This is my website, TAJAVSimpson.com, to stay up to date with all the things I'm doing. You can get everything there. My Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube, all of the things that I have going on. TAJAVSimpson.com is there. I just recently wrote a book called Women Who Shine. It's like 30 inspirational stories, and my story is the forward in the book. And we are Amazon international best-selling authors now, which was super exciting. So it's been great. So I would say just go to TAJAVSimpson.com, check me out, grab the book. It will definitely inspire you and others. You can use it as gifts for other people. But that's it. The Working Actors Academy, all that will be at TAJA V. Simpson. TAJA V. Simpson. All right.
Yeah.
You heard it from the lady herself. Keep it up, Taja. I hope it's not going to be
Thank you.
another 13 years before I see you again.
No, it will not.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll hit you up. Okay.
All right, cool.
Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.
Bye.